weird humor over here today. I was just talking to my partner, Ryan, and so every day looks the same for me when I get to the studio. Okay. I go right to the refrigerator and I see what we I see what we have to drink. And I go in and I go into the pantry and I always see what kind of pretzels we have. And I'm telling you, they're doing amazing things with pretzels these days, by the way. So I grab a drink, I grab some pretzels, I come in, I sit down, and Ryan does the same thing every day too, which is he goes through our social media and he tells me what topics you guys are discussing. So you kids online have decided that we should use Sandhagen as an adjective. Sandhagen should be an adjective used to describe somebody who screws himself. And it all has to do with Cory Sandhagen giving an interview after a knockout of the year style candidate. And he passes the next title fight to Aljamain Sterling. Cory Sandhagen did not follow his own division close enough to know they were getting ready to pull a Montreal screw job on Aljo and hand the belt to Sandhagen. Sandhagen didn't know it. The whole world all they needed was Sandhagen to have a good performance. He had a knockout of the year. He had one of the greatest knockouts I have ever seen in history. Everything was about to get robbed and handed to him. He says, well, as soon as Aljo gets that title shot and gets done, I'd sure like to be next. He didn't know what was going on within his own division. And I'm all for it. I don't really like to kick. Cory's got an incredible record. He is going to fight for time. I think Cory can take it. I want Cory to find this funny. I hope. But I also haven't ran into him, and he might grab and go, hey, chill, that's a dick move. They're calling it a Sandhagen. But it is a Sandhagen. The guy didn't follow his own division. They were getting ready to pull the screw job and hand him a pot of gold. He hands it back. And as I do look at certain guys doing it, guys, there's no rules to this, okay? I'm going to name drop really fast, but you guys know I love to name drop. All right, but I admit that I'm doing it. Arnold Schwarzenegger. In the time that I spent with Arnold Schwarzenegger, there was one big takeaway that I have, which is when he gave a speech and he said, make sure as you're climbing the levels of success that you understand, break the rules. He paused and he looked back to the audience and said, guys, I'm not talking about breaking laws. I'm talking about the rules because you are self-implying rules. When I got to Hollywood, this is Schwarzenegger talking. So when I got to Hollywood, people told me I could never make it. I have an Austrian accent. That's not going to carry over to television. I have a name like Schwarzenegger, which is too big to put on a billboard or on a marquee. I can never make it. I'll have to change my name. And he said, these were the rules, but I decided to break them. I can't do anything about my accent, and I'm proud of my last name, and I'm going to keep them both, and I'm going to figure it out anyway. And I'm watching guys within our sport not understand that they're not in a confine, no matter how much the audience sticks them on you. There is no reason that Dustin Poirier is anointed to fight for a title other than the rest of us have said so. Well, once we say it, it's incumbent on you, the fellow 55-pounders, to say, now wait just a second. Matter of fact, as I look on SureDog.com right here, Dustin Poirier, you got 2 wins and 1 loss in your last 3. I haven't lost in 5 years. It's incumbent on you to do that. It wasn't Dustin's doing that he was a main event over Chandler. That was the placement on the card that somebody on the second floor in the offices of the UFC said. You're going to be okay with it? How is his win over McGregor mean anything more than a co-main event's first-round knockout over Dan Hooker? That's up to you. You decide if you want to follow those rules. You decide if you're going to let the guy have something because somebody put his name higher than they put yours. Somebody wrote that down. The hell's that mean? You're going to just stand by and take it? Well, I guess Dustin's next. Chael said he was, and I heard Bisping say it over on his show. That's pretty big, and Joe Rogan made a comment to it. So I guess that's the way. What kind of way is that to live life? To hell with Dustin Poirier getting a title shot. If you're a 55-pounder, you better speak up. He's 2-1 in his last 3. Make a big deal about that. Build a poster, put it out. 2-1 title fight. 2-1 in his last 3, about to take a 1-1. What are you talking about? Conor McGregor's coming off a KO. You're going to all stand back and just let him have it? Why? Why? Why are we here? What are we fighting for? Where's your competitiveness? Build your story and tell your story. So what, those guys got one apiece in a big history. You better come up with a good story. That's pretty good. Trilogy's a pretty good story, right? Well, okay, great. You got your work cut out for you. Has that ever made you quit anything else? You're a fighter. Start fighting. The Paul brothers are main eventing shows, bringing in millions of dollars, and they don't know how to box. But they didn't let the rules get in the way. They understood if we have interest, there's power in numbers. We ain't got a left hand or a right hand on our side, but we got a lot of people behind us, and the Paul brothers are right because they didn't follow the rules. John Jones is moving up to the heavyweight division, and it was announced at a press conference that he will be fighting for a title. Says who? Enforceable by who? Who do you think is going to show up to your door with a subpoena or a warrant in hand and place you in handcuffs if you don't abide by that rule? Your fighters, start fighting. You want the number 1 contendership. It's been handed to John Jones. Fight back. Don't follow the rules. Unified rules are the only ones we've ever agreed to follow. But you all are laying down and standing back. A couple of nerds on YouTube are invading the sport and they're winning. But those nerds aren't following the rules.